from Just Like Me, Stories and Self-Portraits by 14 Artists, edited by Harriet Rawmore. These are personal anecdotes, which is brief stories about an event in the author's life. It's written in first person. It may entertain, inform, or inspire the readers. It includes meaningful events, feelings, and reflections. Before we read, I want you to predict what do you think each of the artists wants you to know about himself or herself. Page 61. Since I'm a publisher, always dreaming about the next beautiful book to create, I began to imagine a book that could bring artists to a much wider audience. And so I decided to publish a book where the artists I have worked with would make pictures of themselves and then talk about their self-portraits as a way of inspiring young people to see art from a new perspective, as a way of showing young people that artists come from many different places and work in many different ways. The result is Just Like Me. I hope this book will entertain and amuse you, give you food for thought, and inspire you. Harriet Rawmore. Flip the page. Michelle Wood. As a child, I often imagined myself as Sleeping Beauty, princess of the make-believe African kingdom of Koro. That's how I painted myself here. My hair is plaited in a royal crown of braids, and in my crown are 6 figures of me as paintbrush showing different stages of my childhood. I'm playing with a hula hoop, riding a bike, reading storybooks, painting a picture, running track, and learning to sew. The panels in this quilt show important times in my life. One on the left, my mother is holding me as a baby. On the right, mother and I are sitting on the kitchen floor playing jacks. I was only a child, and my mother would always participate in little games with me. My character is a strong, fearless woman, symbolizing the well-being of my people. I am free of fear, ready to forge ahead, hand in hand, with my ancestors. How does this personal anecdote support what you see in the self-portrait? What are the important times in Michelle Wood's life? Why do you think she focuses on these events? The caption. Michelle Wood is a painter, printmaker, and mixed media artist. She has recently been commissioned to create a mural celebrating Auburn Avenue, the heart of the historical African American community in Atlanta. Her work is shown in galleries in the United States and abroad. She was born in Indianapolis, Indiana in 1964 and now lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Flip the page. Carmen Lomas Garza. Most of my paintings are from my recollections of my childhood in South Texas, where I was born and raised. My memories of celebrations are very vivid because I usually had a new special outfit sewn by my mother. My favorite was the turquoise cotton organza dress she made for my graduation from elementary school. Every year she sewed new school clothes for all 5 of us kids. The funniest were the flannel pajamas and our choice of colors and patterns. When I was a young girl, I taught myself how to draw clothes for my paper dolls, so they could have any dress I wanted. A flamenco dancer's dress, or a dress from Mexico called a China poblana, with lots of shiny sequins. To this day, my favorite thing to paint is clothing. My mother was the first person I saw paint. She was the only one who inspired me to become an artist. How do you think Carmen Lomas Garza's mother inspired her? Think about how Carmen Garza and Michelle Wood are similar. And how do you think they're also different? The caption. Carmen Lomas Garza is one of the first Mexican-American artists to receive national recognition. Her paintings have been shown in galleries and museums throughout the United States. She was born in Kingsville, Texas in 1948 and now lives in San Francisco, California. Page 66. Hideo Yoshida. When I pull back the curtain on my childhood, I see my uncle's pear orchard in the foothills of the Sierras. I am 10 or 11 years old, shirtless with a folded newspaper cap on my head to protect me from the sun. I remember the brilliant blue sky and the high, friendly puffs of clouds. After I finished my morning task of hammering together 150 to 200 crates, which we used to ship our pears to New York, I had the afternoon free. Then my cousin, my brother, and I would run off to go fishing in the streams and drop in deep pools near the orchard. When I do my work now, I long to feel what I felt then. I want to forget time and care only about what I'm trying to do at the moment. I want to be the way I am in this picture, a kid shirtless in the sun, putting one foot in front of the other, cautiously going forward. What do you think? What is Yoshida's attitude toward childhood memories? How do you think he feels about his childhood? And how do you know? The caption. Hideo Yoshida is a painter, printmaker, and mixed media artist who was recently commissioned to document his family's history. As farmers in California's Sacramento Valley, he was born in Sacramento, California in 1942 and now lives in San Francisco, California. Flip the page. Darrell Wells. When I was growing up, I didn't understand why the crayon labeled flesh in my crayon box wasn't the color of my skin. As a way of proving that my color was also beautiful and real, I went through all my favorite storybooks and colored in the characters with the brown crayons. In this way, I was able to relate to them as if they were really part of my world. So why do you think Darrell Wells was confused when she found only one flesh-colored crayon in her box? As I got older and became more interested in painting, I realized that there is no such thing as a single flesh color. Everybody's skin has many colors in it, and the way people look has a lot to do with how they're feeling at the time. I still love painting people, and I guess I'm still coloring them in. My self-portrait is 4 different pictures of myself. I look different each time because I worked with 4 different kinds of artist colors: oil paints, watercolors, colored pencils, and colored inks with oil pastels. Why do you think Darrell Wells used 4 different kinds of artist colors for her self-portraits? What's the significance? The caption. Darrell Wells was born in Los Angeles, California in 1969, where she later worked with children creating outdoor murals. She has studied art in Rhode Island and London, England, and has taught art to children and adults of all ages. Flip the page. Rodolfo Morales. All my life I have painted scenes from my little Mexican town of Octlan. When I was a boy, Octlan was still feeling the effects of the Mexican Revolution. We were very isolated. The train had stopped in our town twice each day was our only connection with modern life. I remember that once an airplane passed overhead, surprising the entire town. It was an American who had flown off course and made a forced landing behind the graveyard. He didn't speak Spanish, and only one person spoke English. He caused such a commotion that when he tried to take off, someone threw himself on the plane, not wanting it to leave, and there was almost a huge accident. You see, there wasn't any movies, we didn't get any newspapers, and very few people knew that airplanes existed. That's me on the left looking up at the pilot. Why do you think Rodolfo Morales chose this subject for his self-portrait? Caption. Rodolfo Morales is one of the most important artists in modern Mexico. His painting and collages are shown internationally. He was born in Octlan, Mexico in 1925, lived in Mexico City for many years, and now lives in Octlan. He never had his picture taken as a child. His first photo shown here was taken when he was 18. Page 72. Tommy Array. New York is a wonderful place to live because there's so much to look at. When I was a little girl, I would spend hours looking out the window of our apartment. I always thought that windows were a place to dream. As I got older, I could walk for hours around the different neighborhoods of the city, and I started sketching the people I saw. I wanted to be like the painters Diego Rivera and Romar Bearden, and the Japanese printmaker Hoskai, who really looked at the world around them and tried to record the way that people lived. This is a picture of me looking out the window, or maybe it is a picture that lets you look into a window at me. I am dreaming that I am a little girl again, surrounded by memories that float across the page, like the people who pass me on the crowded streets of the city. What do you learn about Tommy Array by studying her self-portrait? The caption. Tommy Array is a painter, printmaker, and mixed media artist. She is a recent recipient of the National Endowment of the Arts for the Arts Visual Arts Fellowship, and her work is in the collection of New York's Museum of Modern Art. Tommy has 2 children and lives in New York City, where she was born in 1949. Flip the page. Ellie Simmons. When I was little, my mother strolled me around museums to see art. The walls of our home were covered with her paintings, with colorful posters of Mexican art, and with prints by Ben Shahn showing people at work. These images stayed with me, shaping who I am. I paint my love of life. I paint pomegranates, birds, mountains, and people. I paint what gives me joy or makes me sad or angry. I paint to protest homelessness, war, and injustice, and to celebrate the beauty of a sunflower outside my door. When my daughter was born, brilliant sun burst into my painting. Now I gather bright fabrics and photos to piece together a quilt of my Jewish family history. In this painting, my grandmother, as a baby, and my great-grandparents and the pomegranates honor my roots. My parents and the yellow sun are my source of life. They give me love and the encouragement to celebrate life through art. How does Ellie Simmons' self-portrait show her love of life? And how do you think Ellie Simmons and Tommy Array are similar? And how are they different? The caption. Ellie Simmons is an artist and a community activist. Her paintings, prints, and tapestries are shown internationally. She was born in New York City in 1955, grew up in San Francisco, and now lives in Laguna, California.